Welcome back. Let's talk about Mecha BREAK, a PvP orientated mecha game that also includes an extraction mode with it. Surprise, another extraction mode. Now, I had a great time in the beta, and I'm actually having a great time now, both playing solo and with friends. However, that's not the full story because not everyone is having a great time. On Steam, it's currently sitting with 4,864 positive reviews and 2,802 negative reviews, leaving it with an overall mixed review. Now, although I'm having a great time, I wanted to find out why people are downvoting this game, and I wanted to be a little bit more objective with it, hopefully. So what I did is I went through and I read 50 negative reviews. These are all the negative reviews here. And these highlights are different criticisms and complaints of the game, trying to hopefully find a blind spot that maybe I was ignoring. And there was a big portion of this game that I was ignoring, which most of these complaints are about. A little bit of a backstory here. I used to work in healthcare as an occupational therapist, worked clinically, also worked for a university, did a bunch of research which involved talking to people with disabilities about whatever issues they were having with healthcare or services we're providing, and then doing what would be qualitative analysis, dumping transcripts of what people said to you, and then trying to find themes and patterns in what they were saying. Turns out you can apply a lot of that to what gamers say about games, and then try to pull some opinions from it. And so hopefully this review will give you the good and the bad, just from me, from a bunch of different people on Steam. Why'd I pick only to do 50 reviews? That's about as all as I could handle. And also, you also reach a saturation point when you do this, when after a while, all the reviews start sounding the same and you don't get any new themes. I let Steam decide which reviews to show me. I think it did order them in most helpful first, so they were at the top of the list, but I just refreshed Steam reviews, went down, took the first 50, put them into a Word document, and looked for what they were complaining about. Well, they were not complaining, but they were criticizing, okay? And we'll do one together so you can understand this a little bit better as well. So here's an example. We're doing a working example together, right? I played the game before release and loved it. I was excited to play it until I was greeted by the insane microtransactions and an auction house you can sell said microtransactions on. $47.99 for a pilot and mech, what the F. You can straight up pay money to extract items for mech, aka the extraction mode. Who thought this was a good idea? This game had the potential to be the next big thing, but now I feel dirty playing it. All they had to do was sell $15 skins like every other free-to-play game. Too long, didn't read, greedy BS, don't recommend. Okay, so if you're playing along, I picked up on two main themes here under a similar category. So I had a main category of microtransactions. Most of this review is about microtransactions, but there were two distinct aspects of that. The first was the general price. This reviewer is unhappy that $47.99 is too much for a skin. They should be a lower price. They gave the example of $15. The second thing was pay to win. So both under the banner of microtransaction, but technically two separate topics. One, it's too expensive, and two, there's a pay to win issue. So when I went through 50 reviews, you get something like this. Now, I will get better at some visualizations. It's been a while since I've had to do this stuff, and there are other tools I can use, but you got to pay for them. Anyway, this is what it looks like. So I had four main categories: microtransactions, gameplay, performance, and other. So under microtransactions, we have customization, pay to win, price, and general. So this person we just did an example on, they actually represented in the price category and the pay to win. They made comment on the price to do with microtransactions. They made comment on the pay to win to do with microtransactions. So each subcategory represents a unique person. So for example, in customization under microtransactions, these were people talking about how customization has been reduced and been replaced by microtransactions. There were 16 unique people that spoke about that. Now, like that previous example, those unique people might have spoke about other issues. So one of those 16 people that spoke about customization may also mention pay to win as well. So they could be represented in both, meaning this graph does not add up to 50 people because they could be represented in multiple categories. Right. All right, so let's work through the results. And the best thing about doing this kind of thing is I can actually show you in game. So I think this adds some value to like Steam reviews, because it can get a little bit complex when you're just trying to read and understand some of these issues going on without seeing a visual representation of it. Okay, so without doubt, the most criticism was about microtransactions and specifically customization, and how microtransactions has impacted customization. We had 16 unique reviewers talk about this. Now, what did they say? Let me give you an example. Was a huge fan of both the betas that came out, but instantly lost all desire to even start up the game after seeing how much of the customization that was in the beta being either removed entirely or added behind a paywall and user marketplace. Okay, let me try to show you this now in the actual game. Although I did play the beta, I did not really dive a lot into the customization, and a lot of beta players are criticizing this. And from what I've read and understood, even like the customization of, I think I can go into style, and even the face, I read reviews talking about even eyes and eyebrows, that these are now all presets. Now, when I first looked at this, I thought, oh, that's kind of good. They got, you know, a fair bit of variety there. Apparently in the beta or previous builds, these were more like scales and gave the player full control over making the shapes of the eyes and the eyebrows and the eyelashes, etc. And now being replaced by presets. And that now you have to buy this stuff rather than having control of the customization. So part of it's kind of like a double barrel. Part of it's removing the customization and then also replacing it with microtransactions. There's more to this though. So I think I can show you in, is it makeup, eyebrows? No, eyelashes. Okay, you'll see that I have a couple things here, right, that I can pay for. And this is this gold currency. I believe it's called, I thought it was Corite. Yeah, Corite. I'll just call it gold currency. Otherwise it's going to get confusing because we've got a bunch of currencies to go through. So this gold colored currency. Now, I've only got some in here. Like, what about like the other ones? Like sometimes there's none in like a blush or eyeliner. Okay, I've got one in eyeliner. Like, why do I only have some in certain categories that I can purchase? What happens to all the other ones? So if I go into my shop, which says refreshing in 3 days, you can see now there's the eyeliner there. There's the eyelashes. I bought a hairstyle just to see how it works. So from my understanding is this shop will reset and it'll just be like a random draw whether you get the items that you want. Why would they do that? Well, you can go on to sell your stuff on a market. So for example, I had this, what's this? I had this little top knot. Is that a top knot? I don't know hairstyles. I had this hairstyle, right, in my markets. I went and bought it for $480, which is $7.15 Australian for a hairstyle. And then what I can do is once I've designed my character, I can then put it on to the marketplace. And if you then go into styles, you'll see people selling whatever they had and like whatever they could get access to, buy and put together a look. And then now I can buy it. So if you're missing a certain hairstyle, you can then look on the marketplace to see if anyone else has got it. This is a big reason why people are angry about the customization, removing it from the player and putting it behind having to buy it through microtransactions. There is more nuance to this too, and this is why I wanted to do this review. There is more nuance here because I guess the question is, how do you get this stuff? I showed you one way to get it, which is by spending money. But you can also earn it by trading on the market. So these people, if you buy their gear, if you buy their look, they actually get some gold coins back. You can also play a different game mode, the extraction mode specifically, and you can get items in that. So for example, I picked up this paint kit in the extraction mode. This will not drop in the 6v6 PvP mode or the 3v3 PvP mode, but will drop in the extraction mode if I extract with it. So if I die when I'm in the game, I just lose it. But if I get out with it, you can see this has a minimum selling price of 20 gold. So I can put this up on the market to sell and try to get some gold. I think I've done that, and my listing's right there. But you're not guaranteed to sell it. So I haven't made any money yet to then purchase other stuff. So what can happen, and this happens to people in our chat, people came in and said, oh, I found gold mods, and we're going to get to mods a bit later. But once again, in the extraction mode, they picked up, these are mods. They picked up mods, they picked up a gold mod, and they were able to sell that really quickly on the mode and get like 500 gold. So they've just bankrolled their next look, okay? A lot of people haven't spoken about the extraction mode because I think a lot of people gave up before even going in there. Most of the reviews only ever spoke about having to use real money. I don't know if they knew you could actually sell items or if you had to really go into extraction mode to get it. But that's what I would add to this is you can earn the gold in the game, but you do have to go into extraction mode and you have to extract and you have to get that gear, and then that gear has to sell on the market. There is one other way actually that you can get gold, and that is so convoluted, is when you play the normal PvP modes, 6v6 and 3v3, you will get mission tokens. These red tokens, I'm going to call them red tokens. You can also get red tokens by just doing general missions. They're like bounties. You know, pilot Welkin and win a battle. Okay, I got to pilot a certain mech and win so many battles 3 times, and then you'll get some additional. You see the additional currency here, right? The red tokens you get: 100 tokens, 200 tokens, 300 tokens. I can then use those red tokens for battle pass, which is here. Okay, and I could buy this scorching fire supply crate, and there could be some patterns in there which are randomly assigned that I could then sell on the market. If you go and have a look, right, these are all scorching fire. So I'm assuming these people got this from a random box and they'll put it up in the market to sell for 4,240 points. Gold coins, okay? Gold currency. You can see why there's been some complaints about removing customization and locking it behind a paywall. Technically, you can earn the gold in-game, and I think that will be the developer's response, and I think that has been their response as well. You can earn it in the game, but there are a fair few hoops to jump through, and you have to get the right stuff that's going to sell. Right. Oh boy, that's just point number 1, microtransactions and customization. Okay, so the second most common criticism still in the microtransactions area was in general the price of microtransactions, with 10 unique viewers saying that there was an issue with how expensive the microtransactions are. So let me show you in game. You've already seen what's kind of happening on the market and like that $7 hairstyle, but there's other stuff you can buy as well under Ace Recruitment, and I think this is probably the one that is referenced the most for being quite expensive. So this gives a so this is $68.45 Australian, or 5,200 of the gold tokens. So like once again, if I got really lucky in extraction mode and somehow got out with all this great gear that I could sell in the market, maybe I could buy this without spending any money. Otherwise, it's going to cost me $68. On top of that, you have to buy their accessories, which are not included in this bundle. So I actually don't even know. Okay, so included in this is what? This pilot, and it looks like this is Falcon and a Falcon custom paint job. Is that what's included? Recruits Falcon Customs pilot and unlocks his striker design Falcon custom. Right, so it's a paint job for Falcon, one of the mechs, and you get the pilot. Then you would have to get the accessories separate as well. So this is what people are talking about when it comes to it being too expensive. Staying within the monetization talk, the next most common criticism was the pay-to-win argument. This had 7 unique viewers talk about pay-to-win and microtransactions. Now, this is quite a nuanced conversation, and I think if there wasn't issues with customization, Well, I mean, of course, if there wasn't issues with customization and prices would be up higher. But this is quite a big issue. I think it should be represented higher, but there are other issues that people, I guess, were more concerned about, specifically with designing their pilots and their mechs. Let's talk about the pay to win when it comes to microtransactions. The story is this. When the beta that I played, and I don't know if it changed in future betas, but the early on beta, these are mods. Okay, and they do very specific things to make a build for your mech, to complement its strengths or to make up for some of its weaknesses. Okay, so for example, this does energy regen when I'm on the ground. So I get 9% bump in my energy regen when I'm on the ground. And it also I lose 6% on energy regen when depleted, which means if I exhaust my energy, its actually regen ability is lowered. So it's, if I blimey load, it takes longer for it to come back. Right. These mods used to be in the PvP mode, 6v6 and 3v3, right? However, it felt pay to win. So, and this is kind of the story with this game. So they removed these mods from the PvP mode. So if you just play 6v6 and 3v3, all the mechs are standardized. They are not modified. It really is a hero shooter with a mech skin. Okay, everyone's standardized. No one's got any advantage or disadvantage. All the advantages and disadvantages is your matchup with the hero you pick versus who you're playing against and your skill level. So this system has been moved over to the extraction shooter mode. And this is what you unlock in that mode. This is what you pick up. You pick up boxes of mod box loot. So here we go. I've got a mod box. I pick this up in the extraction mode. You unlock this and you get a random assortment of mods that then you can then place onto your mech. Okay. And so all the customization for improving your mech now only applies to the extraction shooter part. How is that pay to win? Do you ask? Well, of course, I can sell these mods on the market for this gold currency. So I could go into the marketplace. I can look up a build guide. I don't know what's best for my mechs. I play a lot of Tricera, which is a very strong mech at the moment. I then could go, okay, I need to find a really good mod for Tricera and then buy it with gold and then stack out my mech. Now, I don't know how impactful these mods are. They must be impactful to a certain degree. Otherwise, there's no point in having them in there. And I do think, and it pains me because we haven't even talked about the goddamn gameplay yet, because I love the gameplay of this game. But it pains me to say that, yeah, this under definition wise, this is pay to win. Yes, you could earn that gold currency by playing the game and pay it, but I can also straight out buy it. I can then place it onto my mech, and that is pay to win. Oh, pay to progress a lot faster than playing the game normally. And this is why people didn't want it in 6v6 and 3v3 in the first place, because it would suck to go up against a Tricera running all, I mean, I've got all purple, a lot of purples on here. Not really the right purples, but if I had all the right gold mods on here, I'm going to be at a clear advantage. And the cool thing is, and the reason why this interests me, is there's a butt ton of stats here and some really cool options to actually like mod your mech to make it perform differently. And now that is segregated to the extraction mode, and you can also buy these mods if you want to. And this is what they're talking about with pay to win. It's specific to the extraction mode and these mods. The 6v6 and the 3v3 is actually not pay to win. It is completely standardized, completely equalized. There's no pay to win aspect of the 6v6 and 3v3. Well, actually, no, that's not true. With the there's always a but. With the exception of getting access to additional mechs. So they did do a good thing. In the beta, you had to unlock every mech. Okay. Now they unlock them all for you. So you get 12 mechs to start off with, which I actually do think is pretty generous. But there are 3 that are not unlocked. You play the game normally, you get these red tokens, and you use those red tokens to unlock those 3 mechs. I never know which button to click on. Okay. This is like a Helldivers battle pass. Okay. I use my red tokens to unlock either Inferno, Serenith, and Stellaris. And then before I can move on to the next cosmetics, I got to spend 20,000 mission tokens. Very similar to like how Helldivers have done their system. You got to spend a certain amount of tokens before you can move on to the next like bracket of cosmetics. So the pay to win aspect would be you can instantly unlock one of those, Inferno, and you can get 200% mission token boost by buying this for $20 Australian. Okay. So I'm going to get more red tokens and I'm going to unlock another mech before anyone else. And maybe they're strong, maybe they're not. I haven't played them yet because I haven't unlocked them because I want to make a video about them. So I think you could also argue there's some pay to win aspects in the 6v6 and 3 vs 3, mainly to do with unlocking the 3 mechs earlier than everyone else. Okay. Okay, the final category in microtransactions, which is general comments on microtransactions, just general dislike for microtransactions. Give you a quick example for you. Bro, this sheesh make CSGO Lotto look ethical. Moving on to my next category, which I just called gameplay. We've got a couple different things going on here. The top sort of criticism was to do with the progression system, with 7 unique users talking about progression. Let me give you an example. I understand that mods in Ace Arena, that's a 3v3 mode, and ranked mode, that's a 6v6, are more frowned upon because it was pay to win, which I just explained before. However, I don't think people realize how much that gutted the progression experience by removing it from those modes. I have zero reason to do mush muck, that's the extraction modes, because whatever mod parts I extract won't come with me to other PvP game modes. Now, you might have already kind of seen this coming. They were kind of damned whichever way they did this. So they had the mod system, which I spoke about. Originally it was in the PvP, 6v6, 3v3. It's obviously pay to win, so people didn't want it there. And they kind of made this extraction mode to accommodate it, but there's no cross progression between it. So all your mods that you put onto your mechs in the extraction mode just stay in there, and they only are involved in that mode. And there's nothing that comes across to your normal 6v6 and 3v3. Now, to say there's no progression is probably not the right thing, but I definitely get what they mean, because I also felt like I wasn't really working towards anything, because there's not a huge amount of stuff you can actually use your tokens for from those modes. So you do get a lot of red tokens from doing the PvP, 6v6, 3v3. And obviously I would save up to buy and purchase the new mechs. That would be great. But some of these things in this battle pass are actually not even for this mode. For example, the cargo rocket is actually for the extraction modes. So you're buying utility for different modes using the tokens you've earned in another mode. I'd probably want to buy all the crates for the chance of getting some of the skins, but progress-wise, I'm really just going through the battle pass. I'm leveling up my ranks, so there's like a rank system, like, you know, gold, bronze, silver, gold, etc. So I'm going through my ranks, and there's also one other token that I haven't mentioned yet, which is achievement points. By doing certain things like getting a triple kill and winning so many matches and doing something with Falcon, whatever, you get these green points, and this is what you use to customize your player card. I guess similar to Apex Legends. It's been a long time since I played Apex Legends. So you can unlock what you want to showcase on your player card. So hopefully when you get MVP, all your stats show up on the screen. Okay, but that's really the progression for the main PvP modes, is just going through your battle pass and unlocking your player cards. But they're right in saying there's no like cross progression between the modes. There's no reason to do extraction to get stuff for PvP. There's a little bit of reason to do the PvP to get the red tokens to buy utility for the extraction, but doesn't go back the other way. The other big aspect about the progression was someone saying seasonal currency that is erased after the season ends. No holding onto it while you finish up that season for its rewards. Once it's gone, it's gone. So what they're talking about is this red currency here is the seasonal currency, and it says mission tokens, which is the red stuff, are reset when the new season begins. So there is that aspect of fear of missing out, which a lot of people mentioned, meaning you got to try work your way through the battle pass, get as many red tokens as you can to purchase stuff in there. I mean, this is technically the Battle Pass Season 0 Rain of Fire. I mean, I'm assuming these 3 mechs are not going to disappear from here. I mean, if they did, that'd be crazy. Maybe they will, and you'll have to pay gold for them. So there's definitely this fear of missing out aspect, because some of your currency is going to disappear at the end of the season. And so you want to save up and I'm assuming maybe purchase these new mechs as well as go through these. I mean, this is classic free-to-play microtransactions where real pressure to grind the game to get enough currencies to purchase all the things, and then hopefully, you know, they're hoping you're going to open your wallet because you're not going to be able to do it in time, right? All right, the next major criticism was about the game modes, with 6 unique reviewers talking about how they didn't like certain game modes. Now, what this specifically referenced was the extraction mode and not having a PvE only mode. Zero complaints about the 6 vs 6 and the 3 vs 3. Only the complaints about the game modes that they didn't like were the extraction mode and the PvE mode. Now, personally, I'll give you a little bit of opinion here. I actually didn't like the extraction mode originally, straight off the bat. I thought, no, this is not it. I went straight back to the 6v6 and 3v3. The extraction mode really did grow on me, because it ends up, you get a little bit of PvE, and then you end up, if you go solo, you end up having lots of 1v1 battles, which I actually found really fun to test my skill. And if you go to 3v3, it's pretty sweaty. Like, your team composition makes a huge difference to like take out enemy squads. But this is what they said. PvP VE extraction mode are overrated and boring in general. It's stupid to think I can farm mods to upgrade my mech, then get ganged by other players and lose everything you farm and wasted time. So there were comments about, you know, not enjoying extraction mode, and which I get, because every game has been an extraction mode recently. Extraction game. And then also, this game is very high quality, very well thought of and fun, but as of writing this, there is no purely PvE mode. So that's what people were talking about when it comes to game modes. No complaints about 6v6 or 3v3, but definitely people wanting a PvE mode. And I think expected, some people, extraction mode's not their cup of tea. The next thing to talk about is what I call just style, the style of gameplay. Now, I think this is actually hugely important. And ironically, probably what I would have spent more time talking about in my own review if I didn't look at Steam reviews. And what I'm talking about and what the reviews are talking about is really, it is a hero shooter. Let me read you this. You do have counters, and in my opinion, they take this way too far sometimes. It's gotten to the point where if I'm in a lobby where everyone is around my skill level, I'm simply perma-targeting 3 individuals at most that I know I can kill. I understand that they want a very balanced game, but sometimes a game can be too balanced to the point where every round just plays out the same as last. So, because there are no mods and everyone's standardized in the 6v6 and 3v3, it is a hero shooter. There are tanks, there are healers, there are squishy DPS characters, and like a hero shooter, you have better matchups. I really enjoyed this part of the game. I think this person's probably a bit ahead of me in like getting tired of that, but I also think that happens in nearly every hero shooter. It's like you're going to get sick of the same team comps, the same matchups, and that's when it's up to the developers to make it fresh, to make sure it's balanced, all that kind of stuff. I actually think a lot of the mechs did have a lot of counterplays, which they omit. So, for example, you can parry, like a lot of the moves would have parries to them. So if you're getting bullied by a melee character, you can press a button to try and parry them and stun them. And I actually did like a lot of the counterplay. I do predict, though, if the game does become popular, it will be incredibly sweaty. And if you don't like hero shooters, it will go down that path. I think at the moment, while everyone's new, it is pretty chaotic and just crazy, and everyone's doing different stuff. But as you get to the higher ranks, it's going to be like, you're on Falcon, you need to take out the snipers. Okay, you're on tank, you Tricera, you need to make sure you're on the front line, this kind of stuff. And you're really just looking to pick like a weak character. Already in my lobbies, like the healers are just blasted, bullied, picked on because they add so much value to the team. And unlike other hero shooters, which has kind of like narrow, almost imagine like a narrow corridor. Most of the time people are coming from a similar direction. Of course, you have opportunities to flank, but a lot of the time people are coming, like Team A and Team B are on opposite sides of the map. In Mecha BREAK, it's usually just big open maps. So it is very easy to sneak up and like, jump a healer and try to blast them down. It's just whatever style you like. Right now, I'm still enjoying it, but I see what they're saying, and we'll see how sweaty it gets and how like we need to try Sarah. We need a Falcon. We don't have this. Like we got bad. I think that's what comes in with the territory of a hero shooter. But do understand, it is a hero shooter dressed up in a mech skin. Okay, moving on to performance. The top criticism with about 9 individual users talked about how it was not available on Linux. Not much more really to say here. I'll read you a quote. First of all, according to Steam discussions, so they actually didn't even try it, it's yet another game that doesn't support Linux because of anti-cheat. Now, there were a bunch of people that did try it and can't do it. And also comments about anti-cheat. Now, I actually had a fair few comments about anti-cheat and people not liking the anti-cheat because of the kind of anti-cheat it was in coming into my chat. Obviously, they're not represented in Steam reviews because they're the kind of people that are not going to download it because they don't want it on their PC. But what was represented, and this is why I didn't exclude reviews that had low playtime, is something like it not working on Linux systems. Okay, so not really much more to add than that. Okay, and I'm going to group all the other bits and pieces together because there were only a couple users talking about it. For example, 2 people didn't like the combat. They thought it was clunky and wasn't good and didn't like this, that, and the other. A couple people complained about servers. They were actually both Australian, talking about not having specific OCE servers and getting put in other servers with high ping. Someone having a very specific graphic issue, a single person with a graphic issue. Actually, this one is kind of important, but I think was low on the list because of all the microtransaction stuff. But the voice actors, there was an issue or previous feedback that they are AI. And people wanted that changed, and I think they still are AI. Either way, the English voice acting is not the best, and there were some comments about that. One person saying there wasn't enough content in the game. They also had like 100 and something hours in the beta, so they wanted a little bit more than they wanted more maps and modes and mechs and things. The event mode, look, you can even see it up here. There's like rally order. There's stuff hidden everywhere. This rally order, you actually need to almost make like a semi-clan. You need people to join it to get cosmetics. So obviously not happy about that. Bot lobbies. We did have 3 people talk about bot lobbies. I don't know. My chat was making fun of me because I was doing well, saying I was in a bot lobby. Maybe I was. I checked usernames. They looked like they were players, but I guess games do that now where they just give them like a random username and they could be a bot. I don't know how true that is. Some games we smashed them. Other times we got smashed. I'm not too sure. Only one person complained about the UI. I think that was really valid. As you can see, the amount of tabs and things in this game to like go through just to find something is pretty atrocious. And then one person just having like a player support issue. I think it's really obvious what people are unhappy about when it comes to Mecha BREAK. And looking at this information, it's nothing to do with the moment-to-moment gameplay, especially the 6v6 and the 3v3. Yes, some people don't like the extraction mode, but they just if they don't like it, they just go the 6v6 and the 3v3. Nearly all of this feedback is nothing to do with the actual gameplay. It's to do with, firstly, microtransactions, impacting the customization, impacting play to win, and just being absurdly priced. And technically, then the next part of, I say gameplay here, we have like the progression system, which I think you could argue should be in the microtransaction like criticism, because microtransactions have this knockdown effect where like it impacts the progression system. I think you could go, Myelin, I actually disagree with your labeling here. I think progression should be in the microtransaction criticism. And I would say, yeah, you're probably right. Because even though it's not directly tied to microtransactions, you have to argue that the progression system has been influenced by the economy of the game. And that has made for things to be very grindy to force you to try spend money. I agree with that too. And then Linux. So like, I haven't done the percentage here, but if we add up Linux, progression, customization, pay to win, price in general, that is the majority of the criticism of the game and it's nothing to do with the gameplay. And this is why I actually had fun in the game. I didn't even bother looking at the customization. I almost never customize my stuff. I know I'm in the minority with that. I just do the random pilot. I don't even put skins on my megs. I'll just play the game. And that's why I kind of had fun. The moment to moment 6v6 I found really enjoyable, really fun, more fun with friends as these hero shooters are. I like nearly all the mechs. Like I've got a favorite heavy. I got a favorite like DPS. I got a favorite healer. Like I think all the mechs are really good. They've got counterplays and different ways to play them. And you eventually start learning strategies and who you should be targeting and who you shouldn't be targeting. I didn't like the extraction mode at first, but then actually really started to like it because it just had some intense moments where you pick up a mod and you pick up something good and then like you're in a 1v1 and you're trying to extract, and it just added another height to it. But I do like extraction games. I'm a big fan of them. I've always been a big fan of them. I can't wait for Arc Raiders to come out. So that mode also grew on me, and I also played in co-op, which is like teams of 3 in extraction, and that was super intense, super sweaty. People who had their team composition really well would absolutely slam you, but I completely get people who don't like that. So, should you get it? Should you have a shot for a free-to-play game? If you don't care much about customization and you just want to have a mech game that pretty much functions as a hero shooter, you're going to have a ton of fun in the 6v6 and the 3v3. Give it a shot, especially if you've got a couple of friends to go in. Duo would be fine. Trio would be great. If you can fill out a team, even better. But you can go in solo as well and have a pretty good time. I reckon with PvP games, you should get in earlier rather than later before any metas set in, before things start getting too sweaty. So yeah, try sooner than later. But I also understand that you probably want something to work towards, and the progression system and customization is mostly behind a paywall. Otherwise, you're going to have to do the extraction part of the game and try to get some good loot and sell it on the market. And that's not going to be for everyone. There you go. If you like this, let me know. I can definitely do better with the data. I'm no longer a student at universities. I'm no longer doing my PhD. And I looked up how much it would cost me to get like qualitative, rather than using Word and to use a different system. It's like $1,000. So unless you like the hell out of this and comment on this and you want me to do more reviews like this, I'm probably not going to get it. Right. Sorry for getting angry. Like, comment. Bye. See ya.